My name is Amy Walker. I'm 31 years old, a certified public accountant, and I've spent the last decade of my life documenting every single cent my parents spent on my sister versus me. My hands trembled as I stared at the crumpled $3 bills in my lap, one worn single and a crisp $2 bill, while my sister Olivia posed with a brand new BMW in the driveway, its massive red bow reflecting in her designer sunglasses. But what my parents didn't know was that I'd been documenting every cent of their favoritism for the last 10 years, and the final calculation came to exactly $347,000. Tell me in the comments, have you ever felt like your family assigned you a dollar value? Christmas morning in Boston. I sat on the Persian rug in my parents' living room, surrounded by torn wrapping paper and twinkling lights. Olivia, my 28-year-old sister, twirled with BMW keys in hand, squealing like a teenager. "Oh my God, my own Beamer!" My father, Richard Walker, beamed with pride I'd spent my life trying to earn. My mother, Catherine, clasped her hands like she was witnessing a miracle. The glossy white car sat in the driveway, complete with an enormous red bow. My Honda Civic, paid off 3 years ago, suddenly felt very small. Meanwhile, I stared at the object in my lap. Not a jewelry box, not a card with a check inside. A crumpled envelope containing $3 bills, one single and one $2 bill. The $2 bill was crisp, like they'd gone to the bank specifically to get it. The single was worn, probably pulled from my dad's wallet that morning. "Open yours, Amy." My mother gestured toward me with the kind of forced enthusiasm that made my stomach turn. "We put a lot of thought into your gift." My fingers felt numb as I held up the bills. $3. I turned them over, searching for something I'd missed. Maybe there was a note explaining this was a joke, or a code that would reveal a real gift. Nothing. "It's symbolic," my father announced, his voice carrying that dismissive tone I'd heard my entire life. "The start of your investment portfolio. You're always so responsible with money, Amy, not like some people." He winked at Olivia, who pretended to look offended but couldn't stop grinning. My mother smoothed her cashmere cardigan, the one I'd bought her from that boutique in Boston she'd been admiring. "Olivia needs reliable transportation for her influencer meetings. Those brand deals expect a certain image, you know? Your Honda is just fine for your commute." I'd driven 7 hours through a snowstorm yesterday to be here. 7 hours of white-knuckle driving on mountain passes, arriving at 11 p.m. because I'd worked a full day before leaving. The same Honda they were dismissing had carried me safely through conditions that would have terrified Olivia. Olivia dropped onto the couch beside me, and her expensive perfume, Chanel, another gift from our parents, clouded my senses. "Don't worry, sis. I'll drive you around whenever you need." She patted my knee with patronizing gentleness. "Your little Toyota must be on its last legs by now." "It's a Honda," I corrected quietly. "And it has 70,000 miles." But no one was listening. They never listened. Olivia was already on her phone, filming herself with the keys. I could see her Instagram story loading. "Best parents ever. Pautra blessed, Chaos BMW girl, how's living, my best life." I looked down at the pile of gifts I'd brought. The luxury watch for Dad that cost 2 weeks' salary. The spa package for Mom from that exclusive place in Cambridge she'd mentioned wanting to try. The professional camera lens for Olivia that she'd casually dropped hints about for months. Together, they totaled $2,400 that I'd saved by packing lunches and skipping dinners out. Their gifts to me sat beside the $3. A wall calendar from the insurance company Dad worked for and a sample-size hand lotion from Mom's dermatologist. "I have news," I said, my voice barely cutting through Olivia's squealing. "I got promoted. Senior accountant. They're giving me the Patterson account." "That's nice, honey," Mom said, not looking up from her phone where she was commenting on Olivia's post. "The turkey needs basting. Can you check on it?" Did you hear what I said? It's the biggest account at the firm. I'm the youngest person they've ever. Amy? The turkey, Dad interrupted, gesturing toward the kitchen. We're all hungry, and you know your mother can't handle the heavy lifting with her back. Her back. The same back that had no problem helping Olivia move into and out of 4 different apartments this year. The same back that was fine during their trip to Aruba last month. The one I wasn't invited to because it was just a romantic getaway for us and Olivia needed the bonding time with her parents. I stood up, the $3 still clutched in my hand. My leather portfolio, the one I carried everywhere, had fallen open beside my purse. Inside were spreadsheets, years of careful documentation. Every birthday, every Christmas, every graduation, every achievement. The financial proof of what I'd always felt but could never prove. $347,000. That's how much more they'd spent on Olivia than on me over 23 years. I had the receipts. I had the calculations. I had the evidence of every single time they'd chosen her over me. As I walked toward the kitchen, I caught sight of myself in the hallway mirror. 31 years old, CPA, homeowner, financially independent. And somehow, I was still that little girl, hoping that this Christmas, this birthday, this achievement would finally be enough to make them see me. My phone buzzed in my pocket. An email from the estate attorney. Subject line: urgent. Aunt Helen's estate final distribution. Aunt Helen. My grandmother's sister who'd passed away 3 months ago. The funeral I'd planned and paid for because everyone else was too grief-stricken. The woman who used to slip me $20 bills when I was a kid and whisper, "You're special, Amy. Don't let them make you forget." I clicked the email open with shaking hands. Amy Walker, you are the sole beneficiary of Helen Morrison's estate, valued at $2.3 million. Please contact our office to arrange distribution. The phone almost slipped from my hands. I read it again. And again. $2.3 million. I looked back at the living room, where Olivia was posing with her BMW keys and my parents were planning her first road trip to New York. That's when I knew. This Christmas morning, everything was about to change. But they had no idea what was coming next. It started when I was 8 years old. I remember because that was the year I finally understood that love in our family had a price tag, and mine was always going to be smaller than Olivia's. My birthday landed on a Saturday that year. I'd been planning for months, making lists of friends and picking out the perfect dress. 3 weeks before, Mom sat me down. Olivia has a cheerleading showcase that weekend. It's really important for her social development. We'll do something small for you the next week. You're more of an intimate person anyway. My 8th birthday was a grocery store sheet cake. My parents, Olivia, and 2 friends from school, who felt obligated to come. The following month, Olivia's birthday featured a rented bounce house, a petting zoo, 30 kids, and a 3-tier cake shaped like a castle. Your sister needs the social stimulation, Dad explained when I asked why hers was so much bigger. You're more independent. You don't need all that attention. Independent. The first time I heard the word that would define my childhood. Independent meant I didn't need. Independent meant I could handle less. Independent meant they could focus on Olivia without feeling guilty. I won the state mathematics competition at 12. I'd studied for months, working with my teacher after school. The day of the ceremony, I waited by the door for my parents. Change of plans, Mom said, rushing past. Olivia made JV cheerleading. They're celebrating at the ice cream parlor. We can't miss it. But the ceremony starts in 30 minutes. We'll watch the recording. Your sister needs the encouragement. You always succeed without our help. The recording sat unwrapped on my dresser until I left for college. I ended up getting a ride from my math teacher, Mrs. Chen, who told me my parents must be so proud. I smiled and said they were, even though they never asked to see the trophy. High school graduation. I was valedictorian. I'd worked 4 years for that honor, maintaining a 4.0 GPA while working part-time at the library and volunteering at the senior center. I spent weeks writing my speech about persistence and the power of believing in yourself even when no one else did. The morning of graduation, Olivia's JV soccer team, she'd quit cheerleading by then, had an away game 3 hours north. Just a regular season game, nothing special. But Mom announced they were all going to support her. "You'll have hundreds of people watching you give your speech," Dad said, adjusting his tie for Olivia's game. "Your sister needs us in those stands. There will only be a handful of parents there." I gave my valedictorian speech to an auditorium full of families and 3 empty seats in the section reserved for mine. College was when I really started documenting. My freshman year at Boston University, I lived in the smallest dorm room, worked 25 hours a week at the campus bookstore and cafeteria, and took maximum course loads to graduate early. I stretched student loans and the small scholarship I'd earned through the math competition. Meanwhile, Olivia was finding herself on our parents' dime. A semester in Paris, spring break in Cabo, summer in Italy studying art history, which consisted mostly of Instagram photos in front of famous paintings. Her college fund covered tuition, room and board, a car, spending money, and international travel. My college fund consisted of $1,000 and a note that said, "We know you'll make smart choices." When I asked Dad why Olivia got so much more, he looked at me like I was being greedy. "Your sister needs to explore. She's still finding her passion. You've always known exactly who you are. Besides, those student loans are an investment in your future. Builds character." Character. Another word for, you're on your own. I graduated in 3.5 years with a degree in accounting and $67,000 in student loans. Olivia graduated in 5 years. She changed majors 3 times, with 0 debt, and a car our parents bought her for a graduation gift. The spreadsheet started during my senior year of college. Every tuition payment, every birthday gift, every family vacation I wasn't invited to because you have to work anyway, Amy, and Olivia really needs this bonding time with us. I tracked it all. Dates, amounts, receipts when I could find them, estimates when I couldn't. By the time I was 25, the disparity was over $200,000. By 30, it had reached $347,216. I wasn't counting out of greed. I was counting because I needed proof. Proof that I wasn't crazy. Proof that the favoritism I felt was real. Proof that my feelings weren't just jealousy or oversensitivity like Mom always claimed. The calls for money started when I was 26. I'd just gotten my CPA license and my first real job at Morrison & Associates, a mid-size accounting firm in Boston. I was making $58,000 a year and feeling, for the first time in my life, financially stable. "Amy, honey, we have a little problem." Mom's voice on the phone had that tremor she used when she wanted something. "Your father's company is restructuring. They're cutting his commissions. Olivia needs help with rent this month. Can you send her $1,500? $1,500 was half my monthly take-home pay after taxes and student loan payments, but I sent it. Because family helps family, right? The next month, it was a car repair. The month after that, credit card debt. Then it was helping with their mortgage when Dad's commissions were unexpectedly low. For 4 years, I sent money home. Sometimes $500, sometimes $2,000. I tracked it all. Total amount I'd given them, $43,800. Total amount they'd paid back, 0. Aunt Helen was the only one who saw through it. She was my grandmother's younger sister, 78 years old, sharp as a tack, and the only family member who'd ever looked at me like I mattered. After Grandma died when I was 25, Aunt Helen started calling me once a month. Amy, darling, are they still treating you like the family ATM? She'd ask. It's fine, Aunt Helen. Family helps family. Family respects family. There's a difference. Keep those records, sweetheart. Keep every single record. 3 months ago, Aunt Helen died suddenly. A stroke in her sleep. Peaceful and quick. I got the call from the nursing home at 6 a.m. I was the emergency contact, not my parents, not anyone else. Just me. I arranged everything. The funeral, the flowers, the burial plot next to Grandma. I wrote her obituary, contacted distant relatives, and paid for everything up front because we're a little tight this month, Amy. Can you handle it and we'll pay you back? The funeral cost $12,000. My parents didn't offer a penny. Olivia showed up in a black designer dress she'd bought specifically for Instagram photos with captions about grief and loss that got thousands of likes. The day after the funeral, Aunt Helen's attorney called me. Ms. Walker, Helen left specific instructions. You're to receive a sealed letter. I'll mail it to your office. The letter arrived a week later. I remember opening it in my car during lunch break, my hands shaking as I unfolded the thick cream stationery. Dearest Amy, if you're reading this, I'm gone, but I hope I've managed to help you one last time. You've spent your whole life being the strong one, the responsible one, the one who doesn't need anything. But everyone needs something, darling. Everyone needs to know they matter. I've left you my estate, all of it. Not because I don't love your parents or Olivia, but because I love you most, and they've never appreciated what they had in you. Use this money to build the life you deserve. You owe them nothing. P.S. The accountant in you will appreciate this. I calculated they owe you $347,000 in unpaid emotional labor and financial manipulation. Consider my gift your compensation. With all my love, Aunt Helen. I sobbed in my car for 20 minutes. Then I called the attorney and asked him to keep everything confidential until after the estate settled. He agreed. That was 3 months ago. Since then, I watched my family carefully. I watched how Dad asked me to co-sign for Olivia's apartment lease because her credit isn't great, but she's really turning things around. I watched how Mom suddenly developed mysterious health problems that required expensive treatments. Treatments I'd need to help pay for since your father's commissions aren't what they used to be. I watched Olivia post about her social media consulting business while living in a luxury apartment she couldn't afford, driving a car that was about to be repossessed, and charging everyday expenses to credit cards she'd never pay off. I watched them spend money they didn't have, confident I'd always be there to bail them out. Because Amy was responsible. Amy was independent. Amy would handle it. 2 weeks before Christmas, Dad called me at work. Amy, I need to talk to you about something important. Can you come to dinner this weekend? I drove down that Saturday through early December snow, already knowing what was coming. Dad wanted me to invest in his business opportunity. He'd been talking about a car detailing franchise for months. Mom wanted me to agree to pay for Olivia's LA apartment because apparently the influencer industry required relocating to California. Over pot roast I'd brought because we forgot to go shopping. They laid out their needs. $15,000 for Dad's franchise investment, $20,000 for Olivia's move to LA and first year's rent, $5,000 for Mom's dental work that insurance wouldn't cover, $40,000. They presented it as a family investment opportunity. We'll pay you back with interest. I listened to it all, took notes like the accountant I am, and said I'd think about it. The next day, I compiled everything. Every email, every text, every Venmo request, every bank transfer. I organized it by year, by category, by family member. The spreadsheet was 63 pages long. I titled it, The True Cost of Being Amy Walker. Then I waited for Christmas, knowing the estate would settle by then. knowing I'd have choices I'd never had before, knowing that something was going to break, and for the first time in my life, it wouldn't be me. That Christmas morning, staring at $3 crumpled while my sister got a BMW, I felt that break beginning. The spreadsheet was in my bag. The estate attorney's email was on my phone. Aunt Helen's letter was in my heart. The turkey could burn for all I cared. I had some calculations to make. I stood in the kitchen, pretending to baste the turkey while my hands shook with something between rage and revelation. Through the doorway, I could hear Olivia's squealing laughter as she filmed another Instagram story, probably her 15th, since unwrapping the BMW keys 40 minutes ago. My phone buzzed again. Another message from the estate attorney. Ms. Walker, the funds can be transferred to your account as early as next week. Please confirm your routing information at your earliest convenience. $2.3 million. The number felt surreal, like a typo that would be corrected any moment. But Aunt Helen's letter had been clear. This wasn't a mistake. It was justice. I splashed wine over the turkey more aggressively than necessary, watching it sizzle against the roasting pan. The kitchen smelled like rosemary and thyme, herbs I'd brought with me because Mom had forgotten to buy them. Just like she'd forgotten to buy groceries for Christmas dinner, assuming I'd handle it like I always did. Amy. Mom's voice carried from the living room. Oh, when will the food be ready? We're getting hungry. 30 minutes, I called back, my voice steadier than I felt. I pulled out my phone and scrolled through the photos I'd taken of their financial records. Dad had left them scattered across his home office desk last night. Mortgage statements showing they were 3 months behind, credit card bills with 5-figure balances, and a bank statement with $247 in their checking account. They were drowning, and they'd assumed I'd be their life raft. Again. Dinner was a performance I'd perfected over 31 years. I served, I cleared plates, I refilled glasses. I listened to Olivia talk about her content creation strategies while Mom and Dad hung on every word like she was delivering a TED Talk instead of explaining which filter made her look best. So I'm thinking, Olivia said, twirling pasta on her fork, I should definitely do a road trip series for the channel. Like me and the BMW, exploring New England. Very aesthetic, very wanderlust. That sounds wonderful, honey, Mom beamed. Doesn't that sound wonderful, Amy? I sipped my wine. Gas is expensive. Oh my God, Amy, why do you always have to be so negative? Olivia rolled her eyes. This is about building a brand, not pinching pennies. Some of us have to pinch pennies, I said quietly. Some of us pay for things ourselves. The table went silent. Dad cleared his throat. That warning sound that meant I was supposed to back down. Amy, it's Christmas. Let's keep things pleasant. You're right, Dad. It's Christmas. The day you gave Olivia a $75,000 car and gave me $3. Mom's fork clattered against her plate. Amy Elizabeth Walker, that is not fair. Your father and I have always treated you girls equally. Something inside me snapped. Maybe it was the wine. Maybe it was Aunt Helen's letter burning in my pocket. Maybe it was 31 years of swallowing words that needed to be said. Equally? I laughed, and it sounded foreign to my own ears. Should I get my spreadsheet? Your what? Dad's face was reddening. I pulled out my tablet from my bag and opened the file. 63 pages of careful documentation. My records. 10 years of tracking every dollar you spent on Olivia versus me. Want to see? This is insane, Olivia said, but her voice wavered. You've been keeping track of birthday presents like a psycho? Not just birthday presents, college tuition, cars, rent payments, vacations, medical bills, the semester abroad, the art supplies, the designer clothes, the credit card bills I've paid, the times you borrowed money and never paid it back. I scrolled through pages. It comes to $347,216. The number hung in the air like smoke from a fired gun. That's ridiculous, Mom whispered. You can't put a price on love. You did. I turned the tablet to show them the first page, a side-by-side comparison of my 8th birthday party versus Olivia's. You've been putting a price on love my entire life. I just finally added it up. Dad stood up, his chair scraping against the hardwood. I will not sit here and be attacked in my own home on Christmas Day. We have given you everything. You gave me $3. My voice cracked. $3 in a crumpled envelope while Olivia got a BMW. And you expected me to smile and be grateful and ask when I could baste the turkey. You've always been so independent, Mom tried, tears forming on cue. We thought you didn't need... I needed parents! The words exploded out of me. I needed parents who showed up to my graduation, who celebrated my promotion, who saw me as more than a backup ATM when Olivia overspends. Olivia stood up, her face flushed. I can't believe you're making today about you. This is so typical, Amy. You're just jealous because I'm building something, and you're stuck being a boring accountant. Boring accountant? I laughed again, that strange sound I didn't recognize. The boring accountant who paid for Grandma's funeral. The boring accountant who's been sending you rent money for 2 years. The boring accountant who co-signed your last apartment lease even though I knew you'd trash your credit. That's enough, Dad roared. You will apologize to your sister right now. No. The word came out quiet but firm. I'm done apologizing. I'm done being the strong one. I'm done being independent because you made me that way. If you can't be part of this family with gratitude and respect, Dad started. Then what? I stood gathering my things. You'll give me $3 next year instead? Mom was crying now, real tears this time. Amy, please. We can talk about this. You're upset. Let's all calm down. I am calm. Maybe for the first time in my life, I'm actually calm. I picked up my purse and my tablet. I'm going to finish my food in the guest room. We can talk more later when everyone's cooled off. I walked upstairs, my legs shaking with each step. Past the wall of family photos where Olivia's face dominated every frame, where I appeared in the background like an afterthought. Into my childhood bedroom that still had my twin bed and posters from high school, because they'd converted Olivia's room into a home gym after she moved out. I locked the door and sat on the bed, pulling Aunt Helen's letter from my purse. My hands trembled as I read it again. You owe them nothing. The words felt like permission I'd been waiting my whole life to receive. I opened my laptop and started planning. The estate would settle in days. I had 3 weeks of vacation saved at work. Sophie, my best friend from college, lived in Manhattan and had been begging me to visit for months. I could transfer to our New York office. They'd been recruiting me for a year. I could leave. The thought was terrifying and exhilarating in equal measure. Around 8 p.m., Mom knocked on my door. She looked smaller somehow, mascara smeared. Your father spoke out of turn. He's stressed about work. That placating tone, smoothing over every fight, every disappointment. This isn't about Dad's stress. My health hasn't been good. The doctor says my blood pressure is dangerously high. All this conflict? She pressed her hand to her chest. I can't handle the stress. The health crisis card, played right on schedule. Mom, I looked at Dad's desk last night. I saw the bills. Her face went pale. You had no right. You're underwater. The mortgage, the credit cards, the car payments. You've been living beyond your means for years, thinking I'd always bail you out. We're family, she whispered. Family helps family. Does family give one daughter a BMW and the other one $3? She flinched. That wasn't meant to hurt you. The money was symbolic. Of what I'm worth to you. I got the message, Mom. Amy, please. She reached for my hand. We need you. Olivia's moving to LA and we promised to help her. Your father's franchise opportunity could change everything for us. We just need $40,000. Think of it as an investment in your family's future. $40,000. They'd moved from subtle hints to direct asks in a single day. They must be more desperate than I thought. I'll think about it, I heard myself say. She brightened immediately. Really? Oh, Amy, I knew you'd understand. You've always been the sensible one. After she left, I sat in the dark, my laptop screen the only light in the room. I pulled up my bank account. Between savings and checking, I had $78,000. Money I'd accumulated by being sensible, by skipping vacations and driving a used car and packing lunches for years. In 1 week, I'd have $2.3 million. I wouldn't give them $40,000. I wouldn't give them $4,000. I wouldn't give them 40. I opened my email and began typing. Dear Sophie, are you serious about me visiting for a few weeks? I need to get out of Boston. Can I come stay right after Christmas? Amy. Her response came 3 minutes later. Finally! Get your ass to NYC. My guest room is yours as long as you need. What happened? I didn't answer. Instead, I opened another email to my boss. I'm requesting a transfer to the New York office, effective immediately. Please let me know what paperwork I need to complete. Then I started packing. Not everything, just the essentials. My laptop, my important documents, my grandmother's jewelry that Mom had tried to give to Olivia until I'd quietly taken it from her jewelry box years ago. The stuffed bear Aunt Helen had given me when I was 5. My CPA license in its frame. I left the expensive gifts I'd brought. The watch, the spa package, the camera lens. Let them keep them. They were never about gratitude anyway. At 2:47 a.m., I couldn't sleep. I lay in my childhood bed, listening to the house creak, listening to Olivia snoring in the room down the hall. My parents' bedroom was silent. Everyone was sleeping, confident that tomorrow would bring another day of the status quo. Another day of Amy being responsible, reliable, invisible. But I was done being invisible. I got up and finished packing. My suitcase held everything that mattered. I wrote a note on the stationery from my room's desk. Thank you for teaching me my worth. I'm worth more than $3. I'm worth more than being your backup plan. I'm worth more than being invisible. Don't contact me. I'll reach out when I'm ready. Amy. I placed the note on the kitchen counter along with my house key. Next to them, I positioned the 3 crumpled dollar bills, folded into an origami crane. Sophie had taught me how to fold them in college during a particularly boring lecture. My hands moved through the motions automatically. Pack the car, disable location sharing on my phone, pull up the family chat and my parents' individual numbers. My finger hovered over the block button for a long moment. Then I pressed it. Mom, Dad, Olivia. Blocked. I started my Honda, the reliable car they'd mocked, and backed out of the driveway. Olivia's BMW sat gleaming in the garage, its red bow slightly crooked now. In a few months, they wouldn't be able to make the payments. The car would be repossessed, and they'd have nothing to show for Christmas except the memory of the day they valued me at exactly $3. The dashboard clock read 3:33 a.m. as I turned onto the highway. $3. 3 in the morning. 347,000 reasons to never look back. Snow began to fall as I drove south toward Manhattan. Each flake illuminated briefly in my headlights before disappearing into the darkness. My phone, propped on the passenger seat, stayed silent. No calls, because I'd blocked them. No chance for Mom's tears or Dad's anger or Olivia's accusations. Just me, my car, and a future I was finally free to build myself. The GPS said 4 hours to Sophie's apartment, 4 hours until I could stop being the responsible daughter, the reliable sister, the invisible member of the Walker family. 4 hours until I could start being just Amy. 3 months later, I stood in Sophie's Manhattan kitchen watching sunrise paint the Hudson River gold. My coffee mug warmed my hands as I felt lighter than I had in years. "Stop checking your phone," Sophie said. "They can't reach you." "I know. Today's the day." "Transfer day?" She grinned. 2.3 million? When you say it like that, it sounds ridiculous. It sounds like justice. Sophie squeezed my hand. Aunt Helen knew exactly what she was doing. The money had arrived at 9:03 a.m., confirmed by a simple email from my bank. Deposit received, $300,000. I'd stared at my phone screen for 5 full minutes, refreshing the app to make sure it wasn't a glitch. It wasn't a glitch. It was freedom. Over the past 3 months, I'd built a life I barely recognized. I'd started therapy with Dr. Patricia Morrison, who helped me understand that being independent wasn't a virtue my parents had nurtured. It was a necessity they'd forced on me. I'd transferred to Morrison and Associates' New York office, where nobody knew about my family dynamics or expected me to be anything except good at my job. I'd taken pottery classes and discovered I loved working with my hands, creating something tangible and imperfect. And I'd started dating James Rivera. We'd met at a forensic accounting conference in February, both of us attending a panel on financial fraud detection. He'd made a joke about offshore accounts during the Q&A that made me actually laugh, and afterward, we'd ended up at the hotel bar comparing notes on the most creative embezzlement schemes we'd encountered. "Your family has no idea about the money?" he'd asked during our third date. "None, and they never will." He'd nodded like that made perfect sense. James understood boundaries. His own family had issues he'd spent years untangling in therapy. He got it. But back in Boston, things were unraveling. I learned about it through social media and mutual friends who didn't know I'd cut contact. Olivia's Instagram stories became increasingly desperate. The BMW, it turned out, had been financed with a loan Dad couldn't actually afford. When I disappeared and stopped sending money, the payments stopped too. The car was repossessed in February, 2 months after Christmas. Olivia posted a tearful video about it. "Going through some tough times. If anyone wants to support my content, link to my Venmo in bio. Family isn't always there when you need them most." The comments section became a war zone. Former high school classmates who'd known us both started posting. Someone shared a photo of my valedictorian speech with the caption, "This is the unsupportive sister she's talking about. Amy Walker won every academic award while working 2 jobs. Maybe the problem isn't Amy." Another person posted, "I remember Amy's graduation. Her whole family skipped it for Olivia's soccer game. Don't play victim, Liv." The tide turned fast. Olivia's follower count dropped by thousands. Brand deals evaporated. The influencer career she'd been building on my parents' money and my financial support collapsed like a house of cards. Then came the news about Dad. His dealership started an investigation into his use of company assets. Apparently, the BMW wasn't the only car he'd financed inappropriately. He was fired in March. At 62, with no savings and massive debt, his options were limited. Mom's health crisis mysteriously resolved itself once I wasn't around to pay for treatments. Turned out anxiety medication was much cheaper than the elaborate specialist appointments she'd been describing. They'd tried to reach me, of course. Sophie showed me the Facebook messages from relatives. "Your parents are really struggling. Can you at least call them?" "Family is forever, Amy. This is cruel." "Your mother is having panic attacks. She needs you." I didn't respond to any of them. Then, in April, the real reversal began. My cousin Michael called Sophie's landline. I'd given her number as an emergency contact. "Amy, it's Michael. Before you hang up, I'm not calling on their behalf. I'm calling because I need to tell you something. I'd always liked Michael. He was Aunt Helen's grandson, 3 years older than me, and one of the few family members who'd never played favorites. I'm listening. Your parents have been telling everyone you had a mental breakdown, that you're living in squalor in New York, that you've joined some kind of cult, that you're making wild accusations about favoritism because you're not well. My hand tightened on the phone. Of course they are. I wanted you to know before the family reunion this summer. They're planning an intervention. They've got Uncle Pete on board and Aunt Judith, and they're telling everyone you need help. An intervention for what? Not giving them money? Essentially, yes. But Amy? He paused. I saw your spreadsheet. Olivia got drunk at Easter and showed it to everyone, thinking people would sympathize with her. It backfired spectacularly. What do you mean? Everyone did the math. Everyone saw the receipts. The family knows you weren't exaggerating. Most of us feel terrible that we didn't see it sooner. After I hung up, I made a decision. They wanted to control the narrative? I'd show them what truth looked like. I hired an attorney, not for a lawsuit. I didn't want their money, and I certainly didn't want a legal battle. I hired him to send a cease and desist letter and to prepare a formal statement of facts. The statement was simple: a timeline of events, supported by documentation, every gift discrepancy, every missed milestone, every dollar I'd sent that was never repaid, every time they'd chosen Olivia while telling me I was too independent to need them. I sent it to every family member over 18, not with spite, but with clarity. This is my experience. I'm not asking for apologies or money. I'm asking to be left alone to heal. The responses came within hours. Aunt Judith called Sophie's number, apologizing profusely. Amy, I had no idea. I'm so sorry I pressured you. Uncle Pete sent an email. Your parents painted a very different picture. I should have asked you directly. I'm sorry. Cousin after cousin reached out, not to my parents' defense, but to mine. The family reunion invitation arrived in May. I wasn't planning to go, but then I saw the note at the bottom. Amy Walker is welcome. Richard and Catherine Walker are not invited until they can treat all family members with respect. My parents had been uninvited to the family reunion by unanimous vote. In June, I got promoted to partner at Morrison & Associates. At 31, I was the youngest partner in the firm's history. The promotion came with a significant raise and my choice of accounts. I chose to specialize in financial abuse cases, helping people untangle from family members who used money as control. Every client I helped felt like I was helping my younger self, the one who didn't know yet that she deserved better. James and I moved in together in July. A beautiful Brooklyn brownstone we bought together, the kind of place I'd dreamed about but never thought I'd actually have. I used part of Aunt Helen's money for the down payment, and every time I walked through the door, I silently thanked her. In August, Sophie dragged me to a nonprofit fundraiser. Know Your Worth Foundation, the banner read, supporting adult children of narcissistic families. I ended up donating $50,000 and joining the board. When the reporter asked why I was so passionate about the cause, I told her the truth. Because someone once told me I was worth $3, and it took me 31 years to understand they were wrong. The article went viral, not because my story was unique, but because it wasn't. Thousands of people shared it with captions like, "This is my family," and "I thought I was the only one." Olivia saw it. She sent a friend request on Instagram. I'd unblocked her months ago, curious what she'd do. Her account was different now. No luxury lifestyle posts, no BMW, no designer clothes. Just her, working at a Target, posting about learning to adult and understanding privilege. Her most recent post showed her in scrubs. Started nursing school. It's hard. I'm tired. But I'm learning what my sister knew all along. You have to earn things yourself for them to mean anything. I didn't like the post, but I didn't feel angry seeing it either. I felt nothing, and that felt like freedom. My parents made one final attempt in September. A letter, forwarded by Michael, handwritten by my mother. Amy, we've had time to think about everything. You were right about many things. We did favor Olivia, and we're sorry. Your father is in therapy. I'm in therapy. We're selling the house and downsizing. We're trying to make better choices. We're not asking for money. We're asking if there's any chance you'd be willing to talk to us. We love you. We know we did a terrible job of showing it, but we love you. Mom and Dad. I kept the letter but didn't respond. Not yet. Maybe not ever. Some things couldn't be fixed with apologies, even sincere ones. In October, almost 1 year after that Christmas morning, I hosted Thanksgiving at my Brooklyn brownstone. Sophie, James, Dr. Morrison, my colleagues from the firm, friends from pottery class, people from the foundation board. 23 people who'd chosen to be in my life, not because we shared blood, but because we shared respect. James raised his glass for a toast. To Amy, who taught us all that family is about love and respect, not obligation. I touched the delicate necklace at my throat. One of Aunt Helen's pieces I'd inherited, a small diamond pendant she'd worn every day. To Aunt Helen, I added, who believed I was worth more than $3. The table erupted in agreement, and I felt something click into place inside me. Not healing exactly. That would take more time. But peace. The kind of peace that comes from knowing your worth isn't determined by others' inability to see it. Later that night, after everyone had gone home and James had fallen asleep beside me, I took out the $3 bills. I'd kept them, folded them back into their origami crane. I'd had them professionally framed with a small plaque beneath. The day I chose myself. It hung in my home office now, next to my CPA license and my partnership announcement, and a photo of Aunt Helen and me from when I was 10 years old. Both of us grinning at a birthday party she'd thrown for me when my parents forgot. $3. The worst gift I'd ever received. And somehow, the most valuable. Because it finally showed me exactly what I'd always known but couldn't prove. I deserved more. And once you know you deserve more, you stop accepting less. 1 year after Christmas, I woke in my Brooklyn brownstone to coffee and fresh bread. James was setting breakfast on our patio despite December chill. Happy anniversary of freedom, he said. 1 year since you drove away at 3:33 a.m. I kissed him. Best decision I ever made. Second best, he corrected, pulling out a small box. Say yes, and it'll be the best. The ring was perfect. A simple diamond solitaire, elegant and unfussy. Exactly what I'd have chosen for myself if I'd known what I wanted, which was the point. James knew me, really knew me. Yes, I whispered, and he slid the ring onto my finger. We sat together watching the sunrise paint Brooklyn in shades of gold and pink, and I felt a completeness I'd never experienced in my parents' house. This was what family was supposed to feel like: chosen, reciprocal, honest. My phone buzzed with a text from Sophie. Board meeting at 10. Don't be late. We're voting on the scholarship names today. The Know Your Worth Foundation had grown beyond anything I'd imagined. What started with my $50,000 donation had become a full-fledged nonprofit. We provided therapy grants, financial literacy education, and legal assistance to adult children recovering from narcissistic family systems. Today, we were naming our first round of scholarships. Each one honored someone who'd helped me understand my worth. The Helen Morrison Scholarship for accounting students from financially abusive households. The Sophie Chen Award for aspiring lawyers who wanted to practice family law. The Dr. Patricia Morrison Grant for therapy access. At the board meeting, surrounded by people who understood that family could be formed and not just found, I presented the year's impact report. We'd helped 847 people, granted $340,000 in therapy funding, provided legal consultation to 134 individuals navigating financial abuse from family members. The numbers felt sacred somehow. Each one represented someone like me, someone who'd been told they were selfish for having boundaries, ungrateful for wanting equity, broken for demanding respect. After the meeting, I checked my phone. An email from Michael. Heads up, your parents asked for your address. I didn't give it to them, but I wanted you to know they're trying. I called him immediately. What did they want? To send you something. A Christmas gift, they said. I told them to send it to me, and I'd ask if you wanted it forwarded. What is it? A letter and a check. I opened it. I figured you'd want to know before deciding. The check is for $43,800. All the money you sent them over the years, plus interest. I sat down hard on the bench outside the nonprofit office. They paid me back? Every cent, apparently. Took your dad a year of working 2 jobs and your mom selling most of her jewelry. But yeah, the letter says they're not asking for reconciliation. They just wanted you to know they understand what they took from you. I didn't cash the check. Instead, I donated it to the foundation in my parents' names, the Richard and Catherine Walker Fund for Financial Restitution. Let them see their names attached to helping others heal from what they'd done to me. But I kept the letter. I wasn't ready to respond, but I kept it. Christmas Day arrived with snow falling softly on Brooklyn. Our brownstone was full of the chosen family I'd built. Sophie and her girlfriend Emma, James's sister Maria and her kids, 3 colleagues from the firm, Dr. Morrison and her husband, and several board members from the foundation. No one was there out of obligation. No one was counting the cost of their gifts or measuring who got more attention. No one was performing for social media or competing for validation. We were just people who liked each other, sharing a meal. During dinner, Sophie stood with her wine glass raised. A toast. To Amy, who taught me that strength isn't about never needing anyone. It's about knowing who deserves access to your needs. James added, to Amy, who showed me that choosing yourself isn't selfish. It's the first act of wisdom. Dr. Morrison finished. To Amy, whose courage to leave gave hundreds of others permission to do the same. I couldn't speak past the lump in my throat, so I just raised my glass and let them see my tears. Later, when everyone had gone home except James, I stood in my office looking at the framed $3 bills. Next to them hung a new frame, a photo from Thanksgiving. All 23 people crowded around our table laughing. Do you ever regret it? James asked from the doorway. Cutting them off? I thought about it honestly. I regret that it was necessary. I regret that they couldn't see my worth until I was gone. But do I regret leaving? Not for a second. Would you ever let them back in? Maybe someday. If they prove they've changed. If they respect my boundaries. If they understand I don't owe them access to my life. I turned to face him, but only on my terms. Never again on theirs. He nodded, understanding written in every line of his face. On Christmas night, I wrote a letter I didn't intend to send. Just words I needed to say, even if only to myself. Dear Mom and Dad, thank you for teaching me what I don't want to be. Thank you for showing me that love without respect is just control. Thank you for making me so independent that I learned I could survive without you. You gave me $3 and thought it was enough. Aunt Helen gave me $2 million and told me I deserve the world. You were both teaching me about worth, just in opposite directions. I chose Aunt Helen's lesson. I chose to believe I deserved more than crumbs and guilt and invisible labor. I chose to build a life where I'm not an afterthought or a bank account or a backup plan. I'm someone's first choice now. I'm my own first choice. I don't know if we'll ever have a relationship again. That's up to you. Whether you can love me without needing me to be small, whether you can respect me without resenting my boundaries, whether you can see me as a whole person and not just the responsible daughter who should be grateful for less, but whether we reconcile or not, I've already won. I have a life full of people who value me. I have work that matters. I have love that's reciprocal. I have peace. And I have myself back. That's worth more than all the BMWs in the world. The best revenge isn't living well, though I am. The best revenge is healing so completely that you stop needing revenge at all. I'm getting there. I hope you are too. Amy. I folded the letter and placed it in my desk drawer, next to Aunt Helen's original letter and the cease and desist my attorney had sent, and all the other documentation of this year's journey. Someday, maybe I'd send it. Maybe I'd burn it. Maybe it would just live in that drawer as a reminder of how far I'd come. For now, it was enough to have written it. Enough to know I meant every word. 2 years later, I stood at a podium before 300 faces. The Know Your Worth Foundation's annual gala had grown beyond our projections. We'd helped over 10,000 people, granted $2 million in therapy funding, changed lives. My parents gave my sister a BMW with a red bow. I began. They gave me $3. That disparity taught me the most valuable lesson. Other people's inability to see your worth says nothing about your actual value. You are not the worst thing someone believed about you. You are not the least they were willing to give. You are not the love you didn't receive. You are who you become when you stop waiting for them to change and start building the life you deserve. If there's anyone here tonight who's still waiting for their family to see them, to value them, to choose them, stop waiting. Choose yourself. The rest will follow. The standing ovation lasted 3 minutes. Afterward, dozens of people approached with their own stories of $3 moments, the times their families showed them exactly where they ranked. A woman my age. My parents paid for my brother's wedding but told me to elope because they couldn't afford to. A man in his 40s. I put myself through medical school while my sister got her MSIS degree funded. A young woman, barely 20. I'm the only one who works, but I'm also the only one who doesn't get Christmas presents because you can buy your own. To each of them, I said the same thing. Document everything. Know your worth. And when you're ready, choose yourself. At home that night, James and I sat on our back patio under the stars. My hand rested on my growing belly, 5 months pregnant with a daughter we'd already named Helen. Do you think you'll let them meet her? James asked quietly. Your parents? I'd been thinking about this for months. If they prove they've changed, if they can respect boundaries, if they can be in her life without trying to control mine. I paused. I want her to have grandparents, but I won't sacrifice her well-being or mine to make that happen. She deserves to grow up knowing she's valued, not ranked. She will, James promised. We'll make sure of it. My phone buzzed with an email. The subject line made my breath catch. From Richard and Catherine Walker, Year 2 Update. I opened it with shaking hands. Amy, we don't expect a response. We know we don't deserve one. But we wanted you to know. We've been in therapy for 2 years now. Individual and couples counseling. We've learned words for what we did to you. Parentification, golden child/scapegoat dynamic, financial abuse, emotional neglect. Hearing those words was horrifying. Understanding that we did those things to you has been the hardest work of our lives. Your father has been sober for 18 months. I've been treating my actual anxiety instead of using you to manage it. Olivia is in nursing school and working to support herself. She asks about you sometimes. She's ashamed of how she treated you. We all are. We're not the same people who gave you $3. We're trying to become people worthy of knowing you again. We understand if that time never comes. But if it does, we're here, doing the work, whether you see it or not. We love you. We're so proud of you. We're sorry we couldn't tell you that when it mattered most. Mom and Dad. I read it twice, then handed my phone to James. What do you think? He asked after reading. I think. I placed my hand on my belly, feeling Helen kick. I think I'll respond. Not to reconcile, not yet, but to acknowledge they're trying, and to tell them about their granddaughter, with very clear boundaries. You're sure? No, but I'm sure that if they can change, and if they can respect my terms, I want Helen to know her grandparents. Not the ones who hurt me, but the ones they're trying to become. I wrote back that night. One paragraph, carefully worded. I received your email. I'm glad you're doing the work. I'm pregnant with a daughter I'm naming Helen, after Aunt Helen who saw my worth when you couldn't. If you want to be part of her life, we can discuss that in 6 months, after she's born and settled. Any relationship will happen on my terms, with my boundaries, at my pace. I'm willing to try, but I'm also willing to walk away again if necessary. I've built a beautiful life without you. Including you is a gift, not a given. Prove you've earned it. Amy. I hit send before I could overthink it. James kissed my temple. However this turns out, you're already giving Helen something you never had. What's that? A mother who knows her own worth and won't teach her to settle for less. 3 years after that Christmas morning, I sat in my office at Morrison & Associates, now named partner and head of the Financial Advocacy Division. On my desk sat 2 framed photos, one of James and me with baby Helen on her first birthday, and one of Aunt Helen holding me when I was a little girl. Between them, still proudly displayed, were the $3 bills in their frame. My assistant buzzed. Amy, your 3 o'clock is here. Richard and Catherine Walker. My parents. Our first face-to-face meeting in 3 years, scheduled after a year of supervised video calls and carefully moderated emails. Helen was with Sophie today, safe and loved, while I navigated this meeting on my own terms. Send them in. They looked older, smaller. Dad's hair had gone completely gray. Mom's designer clothes had been replaced with simple, practical outfits. They sat across from me in my office, surrounded by evidence of my success, and I saw them register every detail. The partner nameplate, the awards on my wall, the photos of my chosen family. Thank you for seeing us, Mom said quietly. I didn't make it easy with small talk. You have 1 hour. Tell me why you think you've changed. For the next 60 minutes, they laid it out. The therapy revelations, the 12-step programs, the financial counseling, the hard work of understanding what they'd done and why. Dad talked about his childhood, his own father's favoritism, how he'd unconsciously recreated that pattern. Mom talked about her anxiety, how she'd used me to regulate her emotions while protecting Olivia from any stress. They didn't make excuses. They owned every mistake. We can't give you your childhood back, Dad said, his voice breaking. We can't undo the damage. We can only promise we're not those people anymore. And if I let you meet Helen, I said carefully, and you slip back into old patterns? If you favor a future grandchild over her? If you make her feel the way you made me feel? Then you cut us off again, Mom said immediately. And we deserve it. Amy, you were right to leave. You were right about everything. We're only here now because you had the strength to walk away. That's what made us finally look at ourselves. I studied them for a long moment. I'm going to say yes. Supervised visits with Helen starting next month. But understand this. I'm not doing this for you. I'm doing this for her, and for the grandparents you might become. The second you revert to your old patterns, we're done. No second chances this time. They both nodded, tears streaming down their faces. And one more thing. I stood and walked to my shelf, taking down the framed $3. Every time you see Helen, I want you to remember this. Remember what you thought I was worth, and remember what I proved I deserved. Remember that I didn't need you to change to build a beautiful life, but I'm generous enough to let you be part of it anyway. Can you do that? Yes, they said in unison. I placed the frame back on its shelf. Then we'll try. After they left, I sat at my desk for a long time, looking at those $3 bills. Once, they'd represented my worst moment. Now they represented my greatest victory. The day I learned that my worth wasn't determined by what others were willing to give, but by what I was brave enough to demand. My phone buzzed with a text from James. How did it go? Good. Hard, but good. Ready to come home. We're waiting for you. Helen learned a new word today. Mine. She's practicing boundaries already. Her mother would be proud. I laughed, packing up my bag. As I turned off my office lights, I took one last look at the $3, glowing softly in the evening light streaming through my window. $3, the worst gift and the best teacher. Because it taught me that sometimes the most loving thing you can do is walk away at 3:33 a.m. and build a life that proves you were always worth more than they believed. And the best revenge isn't just living well. It's healing so completely that you can be generous from a place of strength, not need. It's knowing you don't require their validation anymore, but you're secure enough to allow reconciliation if they earn it. It's being so full of your own worth that you can finally give others the chance to see it too, but only on your terms, and only if they prove they've learned what you always knew. You were never the problem. They were just counting wrong. If this story resonated with you, drop a comment about the moment you realized you deserved better. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. You're worth more than they made you believe. The best revenge is refusing to accept less than you deserve and building a life so fulfilling that their validation becomes irrelevant. Choose yourself. The rest will follow.